Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Listen, if you, or maybe someone you love, has ever battled with dry, irritated, and just relentlessly itchy skin, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to completely demystify eczema. We're going to break down the actual science of why it happens, clear up some massive misconceptions out there, and give you a really structured, actionable playbook to stop that itch and finally heal your skin. It's literally the most frustrating cycle, isn't it? You moisturize every single day, you're doing your best, but the eczema just keeps coming right back. Or maybe you've been to the doctor and they told you to just use some steroid cream, but no one actually sat down and explained how much to use, how often to apply it, or which specific one you even need. And maybe you've heard that steroid creams are dangerous. That fear, that steroid phobia, leaves so many people too frightened to use them at all, which basically just traps you with this relentless returning itch. Well, we're going to fix all of that today.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our structured medical playbook for today's explainer. 1. The faulty skin barrier. 2. Mastering your moisturizers. 3. Steroids and fingertip units. 4. Breaking the itch cycle. And finally, 5. When to seek help.
Starting right off with Section 1, the faulty skin barrier and the science behind the itch.
So to actually fix the problem, we first have to understand the root cause. I want you to imagine your skin is a brick wall. In healthy skin, the skin cells are your bricks, and your natural oils and proteins act as the cement holding it all tightly together. But in eczema, that cement is faulty. Because the cement isn't doing its job properly, water just easily escapes the skin, which makes it super dry, and outside irritants are able to easily enter. When those irritants sneak in, your immune system totally overreacts, and the end result? You guessed it, dry, red, inflamed skin and just relentless itching.
So you're probably wondering, why does this faulty cement happen in the first place? Well, a lot of it actually comes down to genetics. If you have eczema, asthma, or hay fever, or even if they just run in your family, you've unfortunately won what we call the atopic lottery. But hey, genetics are really only half the story. The rest of it is all about your triggers. Common culprits are things like soap and bubble baths, highly perfumed products, wool clothing, sweat, stress, cold weather, dust mites, and even picking up a viral illness. Honestly, learning your personal triggers from this list is just as vital as any prescription cream your doctor could ever give you.
Okay, moving on to Section 2, mastering your moisturizers, which is the absolute foundation of your treatment. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that moisturizing isn't just a cosmetic thing. It literally, physically replaces that missing cement in your skin barrier. But here's the secret. There isn't actually one universally best moisturizer out there. The absolute best one is simply the one you're actually going to use. Lotions are light and super easy to spread, which is great for hairy areas, but they really don't last very long. Creams strike a wonderful balance. They're less greasy and just excellent for daytime use. And finally, you have ointments. These are the heavy lifters. They're the most effective at locking moisture in, making them ideal overnight or for really dry eczema, though yeah, they can feel pretty greasy. But regardless of which type you choose, you absolutely have to follow the 3-minute rule. You need to apply your moisturizer at least twice daily and always within 3 minutes of bathing so you can lock that hydration in. Seriously, think of moisturizer like brushing your teeth. You don't wait until you have an agonizing cavity to finally pick up a toothbrush, right? For our UK viewers tuning in, some really commonly prescribed excellent options include Cetrabane, Diprobase, Double Base, Zero Base, Epiderm, and Hydromol.
All right, let's jump into Section 3, steroids and fingertip units. We're going to talk about escalation and correction.
It is time we clear up some of the major myths and face that steroid phobia head-on. Listen, steroid creams are one of the most wildly effective treatments we have. The issue is almost never the cream itself, it's how it's being used. Some folks avoid them completely out of fear, while others just slather them on like body lotion. Neither of those approaches is right. We actually have 4 different strengths to climb. First is mild, like hydrocortisone, which is for delicate areas like the face, eyelids, groin, and skin folds. Next up is moderate, like clobetasone or Umovate. Then we move to potent, like betamethasone valerate or Mometone. And finally, very potent, like clobetasol or Dermovate. And those are reserved strictly for thicker skin, like the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet. The golden rule here, always use the lowest potency that successfully controls your flare-up for the shortest appropriate duration.
So the crucial point is knowing exactly how much of this stuff to use, and you'd be shocked by how few people are ever actually taught this. Enter the fingertip unit, or FTU. An FTU is simply the amount of cream you squeeze out from the tip of an adult finger down to the very first crease.
To put that into perspective, one single fingertip unit equals about half a gram of cream. And that highly specific amount is perfectly designed to cover roughly 2 adult palm-sized areas of skin.
Now, why are we being so exact with this measurement? Because using too little steroid cream is literally like trying to put out a house fire with a tiny watering can. It's just not going to work. You need the correct amount to give the treatment the best possible chance to actually extinguish that inflammation.
Now, if steroid creams just aren't suitable for you, or if you're someone who requires repeated courses, your specialist might actually recommend something called steroid-sparing treatments. The most common ones you'll hear about are tacrolimus or pimecrolimus. These are particularly brilliant for very delicate areas of skin, like your face and eyelids. Just a quick heads up though, a temporary burning sensation when you first start applying them is totally common, and it almost always settles right down.
That brings us to Section 4, breaking the itch cycle and managing the vicious circle.
Let's move to the most immediately agonizing part of this whole condition and see how this builds. It goes like this. You scratch the skin, which makes the skin become more inflamed. And because the skin is more inflamed, it itches even more, which just makes you scratch it again. Congratulations, you've just entered eczema's absolute favorite vicious circle.
So how do we actually break it? Well, you need to use physical interventions. First, moisturize regularly to fix that broken barrier. Second, keep your nails really short to minimize the physical damage when you do. Inevitably, scratch. Third, apply cool compresses. That temperature shift really helps soothe the heat of the inflammation. And finally, if scratching during your sleep is a massive problem for you, wearing cotton gloves overnight can be an absolute game changer.
Let's tackle our final section. Number 5, when to seek help, covering those crucial red flags and when to see a specialist.
While eczema is largely manageable at home, there are critical moments when the condition escalates. Because your skin barrier is essentially broken, the eczema can sometimes become infected. You need to be super vigilant for these general warning signs: increasing pain, yellow crusting on the skin, the presence of pus, rapidly spreading redness, or if you suddenly develop a fever. If you see these signs, you absolutely need professional medical attention.
But beyond a standard bacterial infection, there is one specific, highly dangerous condition that you absolutely must know about: eczema herpeticum. This occurs when the herpes simplex virus infects the eczema. I really cannot stress this enough. This is a medical emergency. It requires an urgent, same-day medical assessment.
And this brilliantly illustrates why knowing exactly what to look for is so critical. The warning signs of eczema herpetiticum include eczema that is just worsening incredibly rapidly, blisters or erosions that look really painful and sort of punched out in appearance, a fever or just a general feeling of being unwell, and critically, any involvement around your eyes. If you see this specific combination, please do not wait. Get help immediately.
Aside from those emergencies, when should you actually go see a specialist, like a dermatologist or an allergist? Well, consider asking for a referral if your diagnosis is uncertain, if the eczema is severe and widespread, or if the treatments just plain aren't working, despite you faithfully following all the rules. You should also seek help if eczema is severely impacting your sleep, your work, or your mental well-being. And hey, quick myth buster for you. Eczema does not automatically mean you have a food allergy, but you definitely should see an allergy specialist if there are immediate reactions after eating, or if there's poor growth in a child where a food allergy is suspected. If you do end up having to see a specialist for severe eczema, I want you to know there is incredible hope out there. Newer treatments have literally transformed lives over the past few years. Specialists can now prescribe advanced options like phototherapy, biologic drugs like dupilumab and tralokinumab, and even oral JAK inhibitors. The medical science here is advancing so rapidly, it's amazing. All right, let's wrap up our playbook with 5 absolutely crucial take-home messages. Number 1, moisturize every single day, even when your skin looks perfectly clear. 2, use those steroid creams correctly using fingertip units, and please do not let steroid phobia stop you from getting the relief you need. 3, learn your personal triggers. 4, memorize those warning signs for infection and eczema herpeticum. And 5, please don't struggle alone. Effective treatments are readily available, and getting excellent control over your skin is entirely achievable. We've covered the science, the treatment strategies, and the red flags. But you know, eczema is a highly personal thing, and everyone's atopic lottery looks a little bit different. So I want to leave you with this question to really think about today. What triggers your eczema the most? Is it stress at the office? The cold winter weather? A specific brand of soap you bought? Or perhaps something completely unexpected? Identifying that specific trigger is your very next step to healing your skin. Thanks so much for learning with us today on The Explainer, and I will catch you on the next one.